So I'm here with Matthew Herper, the senior editor at Forbes that covers science and medicine. And for this issue of the magazine, Matthew, you put together something really interesting. It's this sort of data visualization about drug development in the United States that runs in the front of the book. And we looked at drugs in 7 important disease categories. What do those circles or globes represent?
They represent how many drugs are in late-stage development for each of those diseases. So you have neurological disorders, cancer, and cardiovascular disease. And the size of the globe is the number of drugs being developed. The height of the globe is the potential market size for those drugs based on industry estimates. And the distance over to the right is how many people die each year from those diseases. And what's interesting is there isn't that much of a link up between how many people die from a disease and how many drugs we have in development. You might think the most deadly diseases would always get the most drugs, but they don't.
And the heart disease in specific is the deadliest.
It's what most of us die of.
And if you look at this graphic, you can see that there are relatively few drugs in development for a very big category.
And that's because heart disease has been such a mainstay of the industry and such a solvable problem in the sense of inventing new drugs that there have been a lot of great drugs. And now those drugs, Lipitor and Plavix and all the blood pressure medicines, they're all generic, they're all really cheap. And in order to invent a new drug, you need to study it in comparison to that old drug, which means you've got to do a great big gigantic study, which is expensive. So it's actually an area that drug companies are really abandoning.
Interesting, but not cancer. As you just look at that graphic, and cancer is this huge sort of sun. So we're developing a ton of drugs for it. Obviously, a lot of people do die of cancer,
right.
But why all the interest in cancer?
And we looked at late-stage development. Right. If you go earlier, it's even more. One is that a lot of cancer drugs fail a lot, so you need to test more of them. One is that you can figure out if they fail quickly, which makes them, especially if you're a little biotech company, you can take a big gamble on a cancer drug in a pretty short amount of time. And the other is that, with genomics and genetics and all the research that's been going on, it's actually an area where there are a lot of new things to try.
Interesting.
And it's relatively easy to know if your drug worked. Does it extend survival by a little bit? You don't have to do a great big giant trial.
So does this mean that if you're a cancer patient, there's some reason for optimism?
Yes, although we still have all the problems that we kind of cover day to day, that a lot of these new drugs don't extend life that much. We're making a lot of progress. Cancer mortality is down something like 20%. It drops a little bit every year, but we're certainly not dramatically winning the war on cancer based on all this work.